Hello, friends. We are so privileged and honored that you clicked on us another time. Thank you so much. You're just so amazing. I'm Shatara Stokes.
I'm Jaslyn Eddings.
And I'm Devon Robb, and welcome to the Cookout.
I'm going to kick us off with our Moaa Minute. So if you're not already following Moaa on Twitter, please make sure to follow us so you're not missing any important information on exciting events, webinars, celebrations, congratulations, all of the above from this amazing group. And if you listen to our podcast and enjoy it, you should do us a favor and subscribe if you're a YouTube listener. I wish there was like a button that I could point to, but I don't know where it is. Or rate us if you're listening on Spotify. This helps us expand our audience and really get the word out about Moaa and its role in intercollegiate athletics. Also, Moaa Founders Grant applications are now open.
Just in case you want to.
Even if you don't like us, still click subscribe. You don't have to listen, but like you can do that. You can do that charity for us. You can subscribe. It's fine.
It's fine.
Funny. All right. So up next, it's time for our hot tea segment. So being the fact that it's October and we're right around the corner for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving too, but more a lot closer to Thanksgiving is Halloween. I want to get y'all's thoughts on Halloween holiday. Do you celebrate it? Do you dress up? What's your favorite song? I mean, clearly it's a thriller when it comes to Halloween, but hey, let's talk about it. So what's y'all's thoughts when it comes to the candy holiday?
I think the only thing better than like family Halloween costumes or like themed groups are doing costumes with your dog. So I think Louie and I are going to be Barbie and Ken this year. Louie's obviously going to be Ken. We were Prince Harry and Meghan Markle a couple years ago. I just think Louie always lives up to the hype. So I appreciate it.
Question. When you're Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, did you spell Prince Harry Hairy? Just for a pun on it?
I didn't, but I should have. So Louis kind of has like red hair and he's pretty curly. So I feel like he was just really giving Prince Harry. I don't know. He did great. I was just there.
That's funny.
Halloween is like one of my favorite holidays, and which is crazy because like I'm a big scary person. Like I don't go to any haunted houses. Like I don't do any of that stuff. But I love me some candy. Put me in a costume, yes, please. I will say, like growing up, I had to use like whatever sport I was in. That was my costume. Don't come from my parents. Like if I was doing cheerleading, like I was a cheerleader for Halloween. When I did soccer, I was a soccer player for Halloween. But I still went and got that candy, and that's all that matters. Also, unpopular opinion, I like candy corn, and I will not be shamed. Candy corn is delicious.
Okay. I'm not going to say that I don't dislike it, but I'm not a huge fan of it either. I would eat it if it's there, but I'm not the person that says I want some candy corn. So I don't know. Jazz, what are your thoughts?
I'm not eating any candy corn ever. It's disgusting.
But I did October, like, and only Brock's. You can't just get any old candy corn.
Oh, so you're a bougie candy corn?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, gotcha.
I never understood the candy corn like coloring until I saw someone put it in a circle and it looks like an actual piece of corn on the cob. Have you all seen that?
I have it.
I'll send you all the link afterwards. But I did want to tell you all about my most embarrassing Halloween costume ever.
Yes, please.
So growing up, I'm a 90s baby. I had lots of Beanie Babies. Beanie Babies were very popular. And I had this like stand to show off my Beanie Baby collection. It was like, I don't know, a Beanie Baby pole basically. And so I went as a Beanie Baby pole for Halloween one year and I like safety pinned a bunch of Beanie Babies. And it's so embarrassing. People probably had no idea what I was. Like, I thought it was the best idea.
There's nothing worse than doing a creative costume and then people being like, what are you? You just know you killed it. Like, what do you mean, what am I?
And even when I told them, they were probably still like, and what is that?
That's hilarious.
The other thing about Halloween costumes, okay, if you do this, I'm not judging you, like live your life, do whatever you want. But
sounds judgmental to me, but go ahead. What you about to say?
There's something that disturbs my spirit about people that dress as like devils or like scantily clad nuns or like the priest. Like, what? Can we not have those be costumes anymore? I would like them to not be costumes anymore.
That is funny. I don't know, like, so to me, I think Halloween has had its like ups and downs, but when I was younger, I loved it. You know, she dressed up all the time, especially getting candy and stuff. Got middle school and high school, like, okay, just another holiday. Didn't really care much for about it. Then you got to college, like, oh, Halloween is big on college campuses. So I start back getting into it. Graduated and just, you know, I think aside from dressing up at work at the national office one day, that was pretty much it. But I'm all for dressing up. I don't mind like putting on costumes and whatnot. You know, so I would love to find like a makeup artist because there's 2 Halloween costumes I would love to do. One is Chewbacca. I would love to go somewhere as dressed up as Chewbacca. I think like just it'd be fun.
Yay!
Yeah, no, I would love that.
Tallest Chewbacca to ever grace us.
But Chewbacca's tall though. I mean, so I think it's kind of fitting that if I was dressed as Chewbacca, like, hey, he looks tall in the movie, so I think
Oh, you said tall. I thought you said baldest.
Wow, really? Does it always have to come to being bald? You know, come back to being bald, Star? Like, can we go one episode about you not mentioning my lovely hairstyle?
Yes, we can. Next one.
The other costume I would love to wear is Predator. You know, from the Predator movies. And I know that might scare some folks, but I would love to walk down the street in that Predator costume. It'd probably take a while to get that all put on me as well, but I think it'd be pretty funny, pretty cool.
I think we have to end this segment because you brought up Thriller. Did we bring this up last episode? I don't know. Maybe we just talked about it together, but you know, Michael Jackson was about to be knocked out of like the most #1 songs, and Drake was about to take his place, and everybody was like, what Michael Jackson song do we need to stream to make sure this doesn't happen? And everybody was like, Thriller. So now is the time. This is the perfect time. Play Thriller over and over again. We cannot let this man history just be taken away, especially not by Drake, okay?
I feel like you got something against Drake. We're gonna have to save
We
that.
don't need to get on that.
Exactly. We'll save that for an off the air conversation. No, but I agree. You know, there's something about that creaking door opening, and you hear those footsteps. You hear the werewolf, something, and the dude in the deep voice. You know, he's talking, and that's thing.
You better not get taken down for like copyright, since we don't have the license to that song, and you just gave us a great rendition.
We're starting the Welcome to the Cookout acapella group. Let's get it going.
Taking applications because I can't join. All right.
That's hilarious. All right, well, hey, that wraps up our hot tea segment, and then we're looking forward to bringing on our wonderful guest for today's conversation.
So I don't think we ever went into why this podcast is titled Welcome to the Cookout. And I think right now is the perfect time to do so. So for those of you unfamiliar, there is a popular term in Black culture used to describe when someone non-Black has shown themselves to be an ally, and that is they are invited to the cookout. There is a misconception that Moaa is only for minorities, when in fact, to quote our executive director, Stan Johnson, Moaa is for everybody. I'm pretty sure he said everybody and not everybody. I want to quote him right. I think he said everybody. That is why this podcast is titled Welcome to the Cookout. And today we're welcoming not 1, not 2, but 3 of our ally members. On the show today, we have the Associate Vice President for Student Wellness and Theodore Katula, Director of Athletics and Recreational Sports at Depauw University, and Moaa Executive Committee member Stevie Baker-Watson, the Director of Athletics at University of Evansville, and Moaa Board member Dr. Kenneth Ziggy Siegfried, and last but certainly not least, the Director of Athletics at Bates College and Moaa Board member Jason Fein. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So here at the Cookout, before we get all into people's business, we check on them first. So ladies first, Stevie, how are you?
I'm doing okay today. I think I've got stress like most people do, but I'm finding a way to navigate it through. We're on fall break right now for us, so we've got some time, and I'm hoping to take some time away from the office and spend it with my family.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming to hang out with us during fall break. Jason, how are things?
Going well. Thanks for having us. And it's definitely feeling like a Monday here, but we're going to be on fall break in a couple of days. So the countdown is on. So excited to be here though with you all.
This is the first time I think we've recorded on a Monday, and I just think we probably should never do it again.
It's making the Monday better though.
And lastly, one of my favorite nicknames, Ziggy. What's up? How are you?
Hey, doing great. Really appreciate you having me on. And it's been a good Monday so far. I'm in year 2 at University of Evansville, and we had a fun weekend with our volleyball team winning the longest match in NCAA history. So that was that made the weekend a fun one.
Awesome. So we're going to dive into these questions now. You all ready?
Yes.
All right. Can you talk to us about how you got involved with Moaa? And we'll start with Ziggy.
Yeah, so my involvement, being in college athletics for a long period of time at University of Memphis and Cal State Bakersfield, now Evansville, I made a lot of connections over the years, and a couple of those, really, Jason is one of the ones that I've known for a while, Stevie, and just from developing those relationships over the years, I was always pretty close with Stan and a lot of the Moaa board members, and had a young lady, I should say, Dina Freeman Patton, who was on our team at Cal State Bakersfield. So really, it was just relationships that built up over the years. It was my desire to make a difference, be a white guy who can come in and make a difference. And I know that's what we're talking about today, or some of what we're talking about. And for me, I applied to be a board member, and I think it was on my second go around when I applied, they asked me to join, and I was extremely excited about that. So really, it was just about relationships during my career that I've built.
Stevie?
I think Jay Fein asked me to do registration with him one year for Moaa, back when it was the volunteer day and Renee was sending out a spreadsheet and it remained blank for a very long time. And he was like, hey, do this. Because he never likes to do anything by himself. So he was like, come do this with me. And I remember, like, I was just helping at that moment in time, and I got to meet a whole bunch of different people, and I got to slip in the back of the room and hear some of the different speakers. And that was probably my first opening to that. NACTA isn't, and the NACTA umbrella folks aren't necessarily a huge thing in Division III necessarily. And so there's some who are way into it and some who are not. And I was kind of one foot in each camp. And I think in that moment, it was like, oof, I think I want to do this. And I will be honest, a lot of it was about the people who I was around. I really liked the people who were in the room. I liked the insight that they were giving us during the presentation. So for me, it was probably like Ziggy too. Like, you get to know the folks and you're like, I want to hang around these people more. How do I do this? Kind of thing. And so that was my first foray into Moaa. And then eventually I got to the space where Renee won't even let me do registration anymore. She makes other people do it, even though that's one of my favorite things, going to NACTA convention. But yeah, I'm in year 1 of the executive board stuff. So 3 years in the general board and then moving to this executive board space. So happy to be here and chat with everybody.
And Jason?
Yeah, well, Steve's absolutely right. I don't like to do anything alone, especially sit at a table. But I've known, our executive director, Uncle Stan. He's known me since I was a young pup. So back in my New York days, and when he was working with the NCAA, came out and met him, did some diversity training with our staff. And we started a relationship there. So to Ziggy's point, Moaa is about the relationships, the friendships. Got to meet. He basically told me I was going to be involved. Let's just put it that way. But it's been one of the most rewarding things for me. And then to bring other folks into it, and Ziggy and I have known each other now for quite a long time. And Stevie and I worked together in Division III circles with the NCAA. And really, have met some of, my best friends in the world through Moaa. So I got involved more with the folks than I did with the organization at first. But to your point, Shatara, about, the organization being for everybody, I think it's important not only that we be involved, but that we try to bring others along and show them that. So that's kind of what we tried to do.
You each spoke about the relationship piece of Moaa, but in your own words, like what does Moaa mean to you? And Stevie, we can start with you.
Mo is an opportunity for me and for others to find the next rising stars, I think, just in our industry. Moaa is amazing in the fact that it transcends all of the different positions that you might hold in an athletics department. So you're not walking into a room with everybody who's focused, let's say, on compliance. And you're gonna learn a whole lot about compliance. You're gonna learn a whole lot of people who are in compliance. But in Moaa, I get to know everybody across the board. So Moaa for me is a place where I see myself in terms of somebody who is just trying to rise up through the ranks in for things. But Moaa's also got some personal stuff for me too. Like I've got 3 biracial kids, and I want to make sure that they have an opportunity to do what they love to do. And 2 out of the 3 want to do college sports remarkably. So there's some selfish part in this too, to say like, how do I make it friendly for that generation to come up? And so it's personal and professional for me.
Jason, what about you?
I agree with Steve. I think, the acceptance piece of being a part of this organization has been so fulfilling for me, that, one of those things where everybody kind of meets everybody where they're at, right? There's not a whole lot of judgment about what your position is, what type of institution you work at. And at the end of the day, some really good work gets done. And I find it so fulfilling when we're on not just the board calls, because we were all involved in the organization before that, right? But making the difference in someone's day or their path of their career. And for me, it's a little bit maybe extra rewarding that help maybe came from a place that they weren't expecting it to come from. So it just continues to give back,
Thank you. Ziggy.
Yeah, so they said it really well, but to me, I've always seen Moaa as kind of like a family, another family, where you have extremely strong relationships. When you look at an organization that's had by far the most impact on college athletics, when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, it really is Moaa. And I was extremely proud when I got asked to be on the board, and I could, every time I would tell someone if they didn't understand what Moaa was about, I would explain, hey, this is the highest level organization when it comes to making a difference around, again, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's something that there's a lot of pride in what we do. I would say the other thing is it's an organization that's not just a name. It's about action. It's about being very intentional on making a difference, understanding that, things do take time. But, we're all in the trenches to be a part of change. And then the only other thing I would add is a key word for me is genuine. Like, the part of the kind of the Moaa family, and we're always accepting members, is you're looking for those individuals who are genuine. And I think Stan would never allow someone to maybe be as part of the leadership team or Moaa that is not genuine. And that's what I found, is that people who are part of the organization care. And they're not just doing it for show. They're doing it because they genuinely care about doing things the right way. So in a nutshell, that would be it, is the words genuine, family, and then action are some of the words that I think about.
Yeah. I love that. No, I really love that. And to your point, Ziggy, I think like that's why when we say welcome to the cookout, that's what gets people to invite to the cookout. When they're genuine, when they're family, when they're action oriented, and that's why the 3 of you can always come to our cookout, because we appreciate you all so much. And to that end, when it comes to being a part of Moaa, can each of you please tell us what have you gained from being a Moaa member? And we'll start first with Jason.
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned it earlier, a network of great friends, but really a network of, folks who advocate for each other. And, you know, these are tough times that we're living in, and these are tough jobs that we all have. And, you know, I think Ziggy hit it on the head with the genuine word. I mean, you've got a group of people that you can always go to and bounce things off of and get a real genuine response, right? And frankly, like we can mess up in front of each other, and we can you know, we can laugh and we can joke and we can be serious at times, but there's an acceptance and I think that allows us to be a little more vulnerable. You know, that's been huge for me. And I think, again, making you want to try to find the next group to say, this is an advocacy group that really helps everyone in the profession, helps expand opportunities, you know, throughout the country, throughout the divisions, at a really kind of just tough time to be doing this. So it's been super rewarding.
Thanks, Jason. We'll go next to the ace himself, Ziggy.
All right, thanks. You know, when it comes, what I've taken from it is, let me back up. Over the years, you know, I've been to prior to being a board member, I've been to the parties. I'm close friends with a lot of people who were members and board members. And I think, though, now that I'm much more involved, what I've taken from it is I've actually been able to listen and hear some of the perspectives from those that have been impacted. And, you know, for me, listening to what some of our colleagues, especially male and female, you know, African-American colleagues, that you can just hear some of the things that they've gone through to get to where they're at, or to maybe as they're trying to get, you know, to the next level. I think for me, it's been able to learn. Like, we do some things during our board meetings, as y'all know, where we just ask people to share how they're feeling. And it's amazing sometimes. Jason talked about being vulnerable. So for me, simply put, I have been able to listen and learn. And because I've always said this, that I have not lived, you know, I do not have the same perspective as others, but I've been able to learn a lot from listening to experiences that those individuals have had. And I think for me, that's what I've learned the most is now I'm in the trenches. Now I can generally see, you know, things that are going on that impact people's lives.
Thanks, Ziggy. And lastly, my external relations co-chair, Stevie.
Put me last. They said everything. No, but you know, I've said this before, like Moaa is a network of individuals who have shared outcomes, but also have a lot of different experiences to bring to the table from a professional standpoint. I mean, there's no other room I can go in where I can talk to folks who have this depth and breadth of experience across the disciplines, but also the depth and breadth of experiences, folks who are just getting into it and folks who have been around for 40 years. Like, I love committee service because I think it can teach us a whole lot about content of the world that we're in, but also being able to watch people in action and learn from them about how they work a room, how they lead a room, how do they gain consensus on something. For me, Moaa has been another opportunity for me to be able to do that. But I also think it's another place where I am practicing. I am practicing being an ally and an advocate to groups of individuals who have been marginalized for years and years and years, and hearing different perspectives. I think that I work to being a good ally and advocate, but that work will never stop. And so this is also another opportunity, like Ziggy and Jason said, of being able to listen to others, learn how to not let those mistakes happen under your watch when you're in a leadership position, but also how to call out our colleagues when they're doing something they shouldn't be doing in those spaces. So, I mean, I'm going to be really sad when I'm no longer a part of Moaa, or the Moaa board, I should say, but I don't really think I'll stay and let you go either when it's all said and done. I think you're perpetually like part of the group. or on speed dial kind of thing.
I was just about to say, how are you going to get out? What?
I don't think I don't want to get out. I mean, I'll say that
Yeah.
I don't want to get out, but I also think it's important for new ideas to be at the table, which means that eventually I should not be serving, and Ziggy should not be serving, and Jason should not be serving, right? There needs to be new people at the table, so that way the organization can continue to thrive and sustain itself over time.
Agreed. With all three of you being directors of athletics, can you tell us why you feel like it is important to hire and create opportunities for diverse candidates? And we're going to let Stevie go first this time.
I have always felt like the best work happens when you have a lot of things that can be thrown at the wall and you figure out what sticks. And the way different things get thrown at the wall is that you have a bunch of different people in the room who have different experiences, have different perspectives. And some of those may be because of the color of their skin. Some of it may be because of their religious practices. Some of it might just be the part of the country that they're living in. And so that is super important to me in terms of how we work with Moaa, to be able to demonstrate that to others as well. We don't have a board, for instance, that is 100% that would identify as an underrepresented population, right? Or a minoritized group, because we believe that everybody has value and perspective coming to the table for things. It is, again, another place where I'm learning every single time I get on a call, every single time I'm getting in a meeting, and not just the content piece, it's the relational piece of how we're working with different individuals.
Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with Stevie, and I probably would add that, you know, our student athletes and our recruits these days, you know, obviously I work at a PWI, you know, we're in the middle of Maine up here at Bates, and even if you believe in the mission to diversify your staff and create opportunities for diverse candidates, I think there's some natural barriers doing it up in you know, in certain areas of the country, like you said, or with certain populations. But you know, in order to continue to create opportunities for the student athletes, you know, there is a need and a strong desire to have folks that they feel they can identify with, you know, right off the bat from, you know, certain life experiences, right? And I think that once you come to, you know, pick an institution to come to work at or to go to school at, you know, you build relationships like we've been talking about. But there's also the, you know, immediate impact of looking and saying, okay, they're talking the talk. Are they walking the walk? So our student athletes are always, you know, talking about how the coaching staff may not reflect what, you know, the student body does in terms of not just race, but across other areas as well. So I think that's a constant thing that we need to keep working on for the betterment of the group that we're trying to bring in, both students and staff.
Ziggy?
Yeah, so I mean, they really hit on it. So I mean, the underrepresented populations that haven't had the same opportunities, I can tell you are really important for me. Making sure that we have representation that matches, or at least comes close to matching, our student athletes, and then just thinking about everything that comes from you know, new ideas from different perspectives. And since I'm kind of saying exactly what they did, my example is, like, so as the athletics director previously at Cal State Bakersfield, like, I felt really good about some of the things we did there when it comes to specifically diversity and inclusion. And from the executive staff that we had to staff and coaches. And then all of a sudden I get here to University of Evansville, and I've been here now, I guess, about 16 months. And we are so far from where we need to be. And it's 90% of it is about representation, is when we're having the important conversations around the importance of diversity, there's no diversity at the table, or there's very little, I should say. And we've got to do a better job here. There's a lot I can learn from both Stevie and Jason and many others, because being at a public school in California versus being at a private school in Indiana, I do think part of my purpose in life was to be here. So I've got to just continue to make an impact, but it's been more difficult than I thought it would be.
I jump in on that for a sec as well. I think that that's another kind of benefit though of having the network that you build in Moaa across all of the different positions that there are, because you have this outreach. And what I noticed when I came here, and this is probably common in other areas of the country and other conferences as well, is that when there'd be an opening for an assistant coach that left or an administrator that left, people called the people that they knew, right? Or they sent it out to everyone in their conference, which our conference is the NESCAC. And it's not, I mean, with the exception of a couple of more metropolitan area institutions, not the most, diverse, or I would say inclusive, spots. So, so the idea that you have a different outreach that you can, put out there to try to, recruit folks. And we all have been on those, those emails and the digests that go out there has really helped, to at least get folks to look at the institution. Because I do think it's harder in certain areas of the country and certain places to, to keep trying to break those barriers down, but we keep trying.
Yep. And I'll just take that just a step further as well, is I think that even also amplifies why it's important for non-minorities to get involved in Moaa and serve on these committees, right? Because, for example, like we know the three of you, and we know that you all, as Jason said, you walk the walk, you talk the talk. So that's why if someone reached out and said, hey, what do you think about this opportunity at Bates or at Depauw or Evansville? I'm like, no, go for it, because I know the folks who are leading those departments, and I know that they're intentional about what they do. So yes, you might be freezing in Maine, no offense, Jason, or whether it's in Greencastle, Indiana, or Evansville, but the people that you work with, I think we all agree it's very important about who you work with, and we know that you all are definitely all about supporting the underrepresented communities there.
I'm not going to lie, we sometimes leave out some of the weather reports in the recruiting process. I'm just saying.
It's like the South here in Indiana. I mean,
that's great. I think you all started kind of preempt the next question, but what reasoning or advice would you give to your colleagues who are thinking about joining Moaa? And Stevie, you can start us off again.
Well, I could probably give you all the bullet points that we put out for people who want to be part of Moaa, right? Like, it is a great deal financially for you to be able to become an institutional member and be able to engage other people on your staff. And give them access to professional development, give them access to scholarships, give them just access to the symposium, for goodness sakes, and sort of this insider idea of, hey, I need to be there when NACTA is going on. We typically host the symposium a day before. Moaa starts a day before NACTA. And so if we can grab some people who are coming in a day early, they find that it is a tremendous value in terms of the dollars that you do. But we said it all here a ton of times, like, it's the relationships. It's the people that you get to meet along the way. I mean, I want to say it was maybe, we were in DC for a Moaa, and I was doing the registration table, which I've already told you I love to do, right? And I meet a gentleman that tells me he works for the Big Ten. He actually worked for Devon, and I made conversation with him. And then later on that day, I was sitting at a table with him, and we were having this conversation. And in my head, I'm like, I have a job open. I think he could be good for this job. And by the time we got to the end of the conversation, I was like, I need you to send my resume in to somebody who's back in Greencastle, because they need to interview you, because I just interviewed you and I want to hire you and I have a position, type of stuff. Moaa is going to put very talented people in front of you as decision makers. Whether you're sitting in an AD chair or an assistant AD chair, like, you're going to meet really talented people. And so this is like, it's job searching all the time for folks. It's watching who's moving in places. It's frankly paying attention to who wants to be involved. Devon's very gracious talking about the culture here at Depauw and having confidence that if somebody wanted to come work here, they could find community in this space. I got to work at that all the time, but to have an opportunity to talk to people along the way and say, like, I want you to be in the business for the next 50 years. Like, not just at Depauw, but I want you to be in the business for the next 50 years. So that's why you would want to become part of Moaa in this. I mean, we don't have to pay each other to be friends. Like, I don't want to get into that. Like, that's not why we do that. But it also provides initiatives for our next generation of leaders coming, more scholarships, the Rising Stars program. We need to be actively developing our next generation of leaders. And if we don't, and we don't keep them in the business, they're going to go find somewhere else to do their business. So Moaa keeps us engaged with all of them.
Thank you. Ziggy.
Yeah, I think for one, you can make an impact by being involved in Moaa. You know, I won't say that we have a growing voice with the NCAA. I think the ability to really implement change, I don't think it's where it needs to be yet, but I think we continue to have more and more of a voice around diversity and inclusion. I think the professional development opportunities are substantial. There's not one board member or probably even member as a whole that wouldn't take a meeting, spend time with someone to help in any way possible to develop them. And so, and quite frankly, I think we have a leader in Stan Johnson, and I mean, it's amazing what he has done, and just to have access to get to know him alone is a lot. But yeah, those would be the main ones: professional development, the opportunity to make a difference, and then getting to know Stan and Stevie, all of y'all too.
They didn't leave much for you, Jason, but let's hear yours as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, they really hit it on the head, and I'll echo that, and I'll probably, I'll just add that, that voice that Ziggy mentioned with the NCAA and in those circles, I think is growing, and through the engagement of younger folks, the Rising Star program, like Stevie mentioned, that's how, that sustained change will happen. We just have to keep at it. And I think that this organization is kind of like it's the definition or the embodiment of inclusion. People don't know that at first when they just read the title, but once you dig a little bit deeper, it really is. I mean, there are other organizations just by their title or by their nature that just naturally don't invite everybody in, right? And to be a part of it. And I think that this is something from the first moment, whether it was a reception that you went to, or a connection that you made, or getting pulled in to do the registration table, you feel that every function you're at, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a party. And I think that that's the first group of folks that, reach out when things are good and say congrats, and reach out when things are tough and say, what do you need, is the Moaa family. And again, it's not about paying for that, friendship or anything like that. That stuff happens naturally because we're all looking out for each other and all kind of keeping our eye on the mission of how are we going to continue to grow the organization, expand, these opportunities, and in our three cases, continue to be good allies.
All right, so we're now down to the last and final question. And no disrespect to the previous questions, but this is by far the most important question. All right, so all three of you are obviously, invited to the cookout. You're coming, right? And we all know that when you come to the cookout, one of the biggest mistakes is to come empty-handed. You might get a little side eye if you do come empty-handed, right? So when you're coming to the cookout, what dish are you bringing? And we'll start with Ziggy.
I knew you were going to start. I had a feeling you were going to start with me, but that's all right. I'm ready. So me being from Memphis, Tennessee, I spent the first 30 years of my life there. Just everyone knows that Memphis has the best barbecue in the world. St. Louis is a distant second. So I would do dry barbecue ribs, and I'm not the best cook, so I'll bring them from Central Barbecue in Memphis, Tennessee, and I'll bring sauce on the side.
Okay, so you got a little fighting words there with the KC barbecue, but I also respect the fact, Ziggy, that you know your skills and you're not bringing your own cooked ribs. You're bringing them imported. Now, Ziggy, are you going to bring it in the branded bag? You can put it in some Tupperware to make it look like which route you going to go?
No, everybody's going to think I made them.
I know that's right.
All right, Jason, what you got for us?
Well, being from New York, the first go-to is pizza. You can't bring that to a cookout. And being a Jewish kid from Brooklyn, I might be bringing some knishes or something like that, but that's probably not the best at a cookout either. So, I think something that culturally spans the divide between my folks growing up and we've great at a cookout is some barbecue brisket. Is my favorite. But it'd be done in my grandmother's style. So it'd be a little different than what folks might be used to. And certainly you're going to think I made it. So there's going to be no store brands on there.
Okay. Is there anything special or unique when it comes to grandma's brisket?
Yeah, it's extra unhealthy. Apparently, immigrants from the old country, they cooked it in some type of, I don't know, space age lard type fat stuff that just, you feel it sticking to your arteries like as it goes down.
Hey, I'm a Shatara. Hey, that sounds healthy to me. That sounds good to me, so let's go for it. All right, Stevie, saving the best for last. What you got for us?
Well, I have to say, I don't think I've ever been to a barbecue where I've been told like I'm supposed to bring the main dish, and you two just like talked about a main dish coming to the barbecue. So I don't know what that is, but I will say most of the time I'm planning the barbecue, so I'm not actually bringing, I'm pulling things out. So it's kind of nice that I get invited and I just get to show up. I like to garden in my spare time, and so does my mother, and so does my daughter. So my garden is actually like my front yard. And you can imagine my neighbors love it when I'm growing corn and sunflowers out there kind of thing, but that's where the best sun is. So I've had a lot of tomatoes this year and a lot of cucumbers this year. So I think what I would do is probably just a nice, cool, like tomato cucumber salad. I would probably do a little bit of like balsamic vinegar type dressing on top of it just to keep it light. And since I just told you, I'm not only like fixing the food, I'm actually growing the food. It will come in the Tupperware container and you will know that I did not repurpose it from someone else's space.
I love
But you do what you got to do at a barbecue. If you got to show up with something and you got to transfer it out of a container and put in another one, like, have at it.
Everybody knows that actually, if you come to a party with me, you're much better off not asking me to cook anything. But if you ask you to bring the playlist and the tunes, you got them all.
I know, you bring the tunes.
So,
I know.
Can't go wrong with that one. And
right.
You can't poison anybody with that one.
All right, DJ Fein, we like that, but Stevie, I appreciate the healthy options. It's balancing out Ziggy's ribs and Jason's brisket, so sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of our Share the Stage portion of the podcast. Again, thank you so much for joining us today and helping us spread the word about Moaa and that Moaa is for everybody.
All right, everyone. So now it's time for the final session of the show. It's our mic drop thoughts. This is the time where we all get to talk about what's top of mind, whether it's current events or something else that's really dear to our hearts. So we're going to go ahead. We have the great fortune of having our three guests stay on for this session. So we're going to start with them, and we'll start with the most northern state. So we'll go ahead and start with Jason.
Right on the spot. Well, I wish something on top of mind was sports, but being a New York sports fan these days is not easy. But it's these are, days that have been challenging lately, I think, and I'm trying to go through each day, reminding myself to give some grace and some empathy to those that are around me and that I work with, and remember that you never know what folks are going through. And that's really been on my mind lately. And I hope that, if we do that, at least for one person, this week, then we did something good. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
Thanks, Jay. Stevie?
I totally 1000% agree with Jason, but I am going to totally flip the script on this. I don't really watch professional sports. I like college sports, but for whatever reason, I'm really into following this whole like Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift kind of thing going on. And the first video that we saw of them leaving the locker room and the whole, 1989 cover thing he's got going on, spent a whole lot of time like trying to dissect. Was he trying to hold her hand? Was he not? Like, what was he doing? He's not a gentleman by the way he's walking, kind of thing. Like, whatever. But after watching them on their latest walk, when they got out of a car and they were walking into, I think it was like Saturday Night Live or something like that, I am now convinced that he actually wanted to hold her hand back then, but he knew he couldn't in public because of the body language. So just trying to keep it light today. Just trying to keep it light.
I like it. No,
Think about the photos that got released from inside the party, because who was doing that? What the heck?
Yeah. So one, like total breach of trust. Whoever's your friend in that room is not your friend, right? Which means it's ruined for all. And I got to be honest, like those pictures were pretty grainy. And even when I was trying to blow them up, I'm like, who's touching who where? How are they sitting? Like, I don't know. Like everything looked fine for me, kind of thing. But for whatever reason, I don't know. I'm just a little intrigued with it. And what entertains me right now on social media.
Is there a cookout overtime show? We can have this as the topic.
This is so not my jam. Like, I cannot believe that this is what I'm actually like entertaining myself with right now. But
Ziggy was saying the same thing to me earlier today.
Yeah.
I know,
Jason
everybody
and I
wants to
talk
know.
about the Kelsey and Taylor Swift all the time. So
yeah.
that's funny. All right, Ziggy. So what you got for us?
yeah, so it might be hard to follow that one, but I'll think about perspective since we've talked about that a little bit. And as we all deal with the ups and downs of even the day and the week, I try to remember, if we're all juggling a lot of balls, not necessarily juggling plates. Plates, if you drop them, they're going to break. Yeah. And I always try to put things in perspective that I'm juggling a lot of balls, but if they hit the ground, it's not ideal, but they're not going to break. And so I try to determine when I'm dealing with something that's like a plate or when I'm dealing with something like a ball. And it helps, I know me, and I try to put this on to others to realize how to maybe look at things as we're dealing with stressful situations.
I like it. Appreciate that. So next up, Shatara, what you got?
I don't want to put pressure on you, Jazz, to do serious because Jason's a little more serious, Stevie light, Ziggy serious. I'm gonna go light here too. What kind of light? Because I'm very serious. Now that the Renaissance tour is over, I want someone to do like some type of dissertation or like some type of study about why some of y'all couldn't mute. It wasn't that hard. Like, I think we're taking the like be a rebel, don't follow the crowd thing a little too serious. When in this situation, you just had to shut up. It was not even a minute, I don't think. Like, you just ruined it for so many people. Mute, be quiet, scream. Why was it that hard? Why was it that hard? I've been holding that in all this time. So happy to let it out.
Thanks, Shatara. All right. Jazz, what you got?
I'll go serious so Devon, you can end us on a light note. But working in academics, I realize that we're in a hard part of the semester right now with midterms and people are very stressed. Winter sports are starting to overlap with fall sports. So just reminding people to take a second to check on your students. I've started asking my students, how are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 10 instead of just saying like, oh, how are you? Because they say good and they move on. So, and then when they tell me they're a 7, I say, okay, what's keeping you from being a 5 and what's keeping you from being a 10? And just seeing like what's keeping your head above water and what's holding us back. So just a reminder to check on your people.
I love it. Thanks, Jazz. And I don't know if I have a lighthearted piece. I think those kind of capitalizing on what everybody else was saying as well. But we're definitely in some challenging times. Not only within athletics but across the world right now. So I really encourage everyone. It's the importance of showing respect, appreciation, and gratitude to all. No matter your ethnicity, your religion, your sex or gender or whatnot, it goes a long way. And then I think we all can say it goes a long way in the office. It goes a long way with our student athletes. It goes a long way just in anything you do. So I think let's keep that in mind. Just really showing, as the late Aretha Franklin would say, RESPECT, just doing that appreciation and gratitude is really important. And that's all I got. All right, so just want to say, everyone, thanks for listening. The Ziggy, Stevie, Jason, thank you all. We really appreciate you for joining, and just being true to what you say. Like I say, you walk the walk, you talk the talk. You all appreciate your vulnerability. We appreciate you being this advocates, and allies for us. And just showing, as Shatara said, as Uncle Stan always says, more is for everybody. You know, Samoa is just not a minority thing; it's for everyone, and we really appreciate it. So that's all for today's episode. We look forward to seeing you all on the future one. But in the meantime, enjoy Halloween, enjoy Thanksgiving, and if we don't see you before then, enjoy the holiday season in December. So thanks everyone. Have a great day. See you next time.